Assassin's Creed Shadows throws you straight into feudal Japan with one of the most atmospheric Assassin's Creed experiences ever, combining stealth, open-world exploration, and fluid combat in a way that feels both classic and fresh. You can play as Noe, a skilled shinobi who moves with deadly precision, or Yasuke, a powerful samurai whose brute strength changes the pace of every encounter. The game shines in its combat system: tight swordplay, parries that reward timing, and stealth mechanics that let you vanish into the environment, striking from the shadows with grappling hooks and smoke bombs. The open world is stunningly detailed, with seasonal changes that affect stealth and combat strategies, plus towns and villages full of dynamic NPCs that react to your presence. Another huge strength is its RPG progression, with deep skill trees and customizable builds that keep gameplay varied across multiple playthroughs. On the downside, the game isn't without flaws. AI enemies can feel inconsistent, sometimes sharp and other times clueless, and the parkour system, while smoother than before, still has occasional clunky moments that break immersion. Performance-wise, the visuals are demanding, and some players with mid-range PCs will need to compromise on settings. Doom. The Dark Ages takes the legendary demon-slaying formula and hurls it into a brutal medieval setting, mixing the raw speed and intensity of modern Doom with heavy, armor-clashing carnage. Instead of just futuristic guns, you're wielding massive, bone-crushing melee weapons alongside iconic firearms, creating a combat loop that feels both familiar and refreshingly savage. The game pushes you to stay aggressive with relentless hordes, chaining together executions, parries, and weapon swaps at lightning speed to survive overwhelming encounters. One of its standout features is the introduction of a shield system that doubles as both defense and offense, letting you block hellish attacks before smashing demons to pieces. The environments are darker, gothic, and sprawling, with dungeons and fortresses that blend old-school level design with modern verticality and secrets to uncover. Replayability is sky-high thanks to varied difficulty modes and a sandbox of weapons that encourage experimentation. However, criticisms have emerged. The chaotic visuals can be overwhelming at times, making it hard to track enemies in crowded arenas, and while the melee mechanics add depth, some find them slightly less satisfying than Doom Eternal's pure gunplay focus. Performance is excellent on PC with buttery frame rates, but the high action density demands strong hardware for max settings. South of Midnight brings a fresh twist to action-adventure with its blend of Southern Gothic atmosphere, magical realism, and a fast-paced combat that keeps players hooked from the start. You step into the shoes of Hazel, a young woman gifted with supernatural weaving powers that allow her to manipulate the world around her, binding enemies, pulling platforms, and crafting combat opportunities on the fly. The gameplay mixes fluid melee combat with spellcasting, giving you a creative arsenal to dismantle twisted monsters drawn from folklore and nightmares. Exploration is equally engaging, as the environments are dripping with eerie charm, swamps, decaying towns, and haunted landscapes that feel alive with mystery and danger. A huge strength is the game's visual style, with its handcrafted, stop-motion-inspired animation that makes every movement look unique, setting it apart from other action titles. Combat offers plenty of variety with combos, magical finishers, and enemy types that require different strategies, which keeps encounters from ever feeling stale. On the flip side, the pacing has been a common criticism. There are moments where exploration slows to a crawl, and some platforming sections can feel repetitive compared to the exciting combat. Borderlands 4 cranks up the chaos to new levels, delivering everything fans love about the series: over-the-top gunplay, insane loot variety, and irreverent humor, while introducing deeper mechanics that make the gameplay loop even more addictive. This time the combat is faster and more versatile than ever, with new movement options like wall running and grappling hooks that completely change how firefights unfold. The arsenal is, of course, outrageous, with procedurally generated weapons that now include evolving attachments and elemental effects that let you fine-tune your playstyle. Co-op remains one of the biggest strengths, as drop-in, drop-out multiplayer feels smoother than ever, and character builds are more customizable with branching skill trees that allow for creative synergy and team play. Boss fights have been praised for being larger-than-life spectacles that push you to use every tool at your disposal, and the humor, while still wild and self-aware, comes with a sharper narrative edge that gives the story a stronger backbone than past entries. On the downside, some missions can still feel repetitive with the usual fetch or wave-based objectives, and the game's humor, while improved, occasionally misses the mark or leans too hard into absurdity. Wuchang. Fallen Feathers plunges players into a dark and atmospheric action RPG set in late Ming Dynasty China, blending fast-paced combat with eerie folklore-inspired horror. You play as Wuchang, a warrior cursed with a mysterious feathered affliction, and the gameplay revolves around a mix of precise melee combat, dodging, and supernatural abilities that feel reminiscent of Souls-like titles, but with its own unique flair. The combat system is brutal yet rewarding, encouraging patience, timing, and mastery of different weapon styles, from heavy halberds to swift dual blades, each with distinct combos and stamina demands. The world itself is one of the game's strongest points. Haunting villages, corrupted forests, and grotesque enemy designs that keep exploration tense and immersive. There's also an RPG layer of progression, where choices in gear, upgrades, and abilities can significantly alter how you approach battles, making replayability a core part of the experience. Another strength is the boss design. Massive, twisted creatures that challenge your reflexes and force you to learn attack patterns. However, the game isn't without flaws. Its difficulty curve can feel inconsistent, with some spikes that frustrate more than challenge, and animations occasionally lack the polish seen in top-tier titles, breaking immersion. Dragon's Dogma 2 is a colossal action RPG that takes the already beloved formula of its predecessor and expands it into a richer, more immersive world filled with danger and discovery. The combat is the star of the show, offering fast, visceral encounters that balance hack-and-slash action with tactical depth, letting you climb onto massive beasts, exploit elemental weaknesses, and use your vocation's unique abilities to devastating effect. The pawn system makes a strong return, giving you AI companions that can be customized and shared online, adding personality and unpredictability to every fight. Exploration is breathtaking, with sprawling landscapes, hidden caves, and dynamic encounters that ensure no two journeys feel alike. The sense of scale in battles against towering griffins, cyclopes, and dragons is unmatched, and the game rewards creativity in how you approach each enemy. Replayability is another strength, as the branching story, varied vocations, and emergent gameplay encourage multiple playthroughs. That said, Dragon's Dogma 2 isn't flawless. The pacing can sometimes drag due to long travel without fast travel options, and the difficulty can swing wildly, with certain encounters feeling unfairly punishing early on. Helldivers 2 turns chaotic cooperative action into pure adrenaline, throwing squads of players into alien-infested war zones where teamwork is the only path to survival. The shift to a third-person perspective ramps up immersion, giving a clearer view of the battlefield as swarms of bugs and robots close in from every direction. The combat is brutal and satisfying, with a massive arsenal of customizable weapons and stratagems, airstrikes, turrets, mechs, that keep every mission unpredictable. One of its biggest strengths is how every bullet and explosion counts, as friendly fire is always on, making coordination with teammates essential instead of just spraying and praying. The Galactic War system is another standout, tying player actions into a community-driven campaign where victories and failures shape the ongoing fight for humanity. Replayability is nearly endless thanks to procedurally generated missions, varied biomes, and escalating difficulties that constantly test your squad's communication and skill. On the downside, solo play is far less enjoyable, with the game clearly designed around cooperation, and matchmaking can sometimes pair you with uncoordinated squads that make missions frustrating instead of fun. Tekken 8 takes the legendary fighting franchise to new heights with faster, harder-hitting combat, and some of the most cinematic visuals the series has ever seen. The new heat system completely changes the flow of battles, allowing players to trigger aggressive abilities that extend combos, apply chip damage, or break through defenses, making every round feel more explosive and dynamic. Each character has been finely tuned, with unique mechanics that highlight their personalities, while keeping the balance tight enough for both casual players and competitive veterans. Online play is smoother thanks to rollback netcode, giving matches a more responsive feel, while training modes and tutorials make it easier than ever for newcomers to jump in and improve. Graphically, Tekken 8 is stunning, with highly detailed stages and character models that bring every punch, kick, and grapple to life with jaw-dropping intensity. However, it isn't perfect. Some players find the heat system a bit overwhelming at first, as it heavily shifts the pace toward aggression, and certain character animations still feel stiff compared to others. Additionally, while the single-player story mode is cinematic, it doesn't quite reach the depth or polish of the main competitive experience. Monster Hunter Wilds is the next big leap for Capcom's iconic franchise, taking the monster hunting formula and amplifying it with larger, more dynamic ecosystems and jaw-dropping visual detail. The core gameplay loop remains as addictive as ever. Track massive creatures, study their behaviors, and take them down in tense, skill-based battles where preparation is just as important as execution. This time, environments feel alive like never before. Sandstorms, changing weather, and shifting ecosystems can alter hunts mid-battle, forcing you to adapt on the fly. The combat system is refined with smoother animations, new weapon mechanics, and mounts that let you traverse vast regions faster, while also being integrated into combat for unique strategies. Crafting and progression are deeper, with expanded armor sets and weapon trees that reward long-term dedication, while multiplayer remains a huge strength, offering seamless drop-in hunts that highlight teamwork and coordination. The sheer variety of monsters, from massive flying wyverns to colossal land predators, ensures every encounter feels epic and memorable. That said, the game's complexity can still be intimidating for newcomers, with steep learning curves around gear optimization and combat mastery, and some hunts can drag on a bit too long for players looking for quicker action. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 delivers one of the most unique action RPG experiences of 2025, blending breathtaking visuals, poetic storytelling, and a deeply engaging combat system that sets it apart from anything else on PC. Set in a surreal, dreamlike world, cursed by an artist whose yearly paintings erase entire generations, you take on the role of Siskin, a warrior fighting desperately against fate. The combat is where the game truly shines, fusing real-time dodging and positioning with turn-based precision inputs, forcing you to think tactically while staying on your toes. Every fight feels tense and rewarding, as enemy attacks require sharp timing to block or counter, and your offensive options expand with a beautifully designed arsenal of weapons and magical abilities. Exploration is equally mesmerizing, with environments that shift between haunting ruins, ethereal landscapes, and visually stunning set pieces that feel like moving artwork. The soundtrack and presentation elevate the atmosphere, making each encounter as much an emotional experience as a test of skill. Strengths include its originality, highly strategic combat, and world building that feels unlike anything else on the market.